documents are the most important thing we have because we do not sell any physical product. We sell safety and security.
Welcome everybody to the Enterprise Content Show. I know you've missed us terribly. It must have been hard. Franzi, you're back from a lovely holiday, aren't you? Where have you been?
I am. Mauritius.
Mauritius. That is a fancy place to go. Did you have a nice time?
Absolutely fantastic, yes.
That's good. Did you dream about document intelligence?
All the time.
There I was on the beach. I was thinking about the life cycle of documents, automation. Yeah. So welcome back to the Enterprise Content Show. I'm Will. I'm still learning that enterprise content can be just as complex as global risk markets and possibly as unpredictable. And Franzi, who are you?
I'm still Franzi, and I'm still here to translate the magic of process, content, and AI into something that makes sense for the real world, hopefully.
Really cool. And we're stepping into the real world today. We're stepping into the world of reinsurance. And this is insurance for insurance companies, like the ultimate safety net.
Do you have insurance? Because if you do, you could always use a little more. Am I right or am I right or am I right?
And we're not just talking about any player in the reinsurance world. We're talking to one of the biggest players in this market. And we're joined by Andre Karczau today from Hannover Re. Please join us on stage, Andre.
Applause, applause, applause.
Welcome on stage, Andre.
Hello.
Welcome to the Enterprise Content Show.
Really good to see you, Andre. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So before we get into organizational wisdom, which is a really juicy sort of theme for us to talk to you about, Andre, we need to get you warmed up. So for anyone who's never worked in insurance, what is surprising about reinsurance, or what do people tend to be super interested in about reinsurance? Because it's kind of hidden from popular life, but it's actually quite interesting, isn't it?
I brought a real life example with me, and this will involve you, Will and Franzi. And reinsurance is a very interesting field of business because, as you mentioned, we are the insurer for the primary insurer. So normally we don't deal with the car damage that you may have caused because that's the matter of the primary insurer. But we may come into play if Franzi's 500k Ferrari is affected.
Oh,
so that's the thing where we might come into play, because the primary insurer may not want to bear this loss, or at least not alone. And let me tell you, there's nothing that is not covered by primary insurers, and that therefore ends up in the reinsurer's book.
That is so cool. So you can do something really ambitious and provocative, and then you can cover your downside risks by working with reinsurance. Interesting.
By paying for it, right?
For sure, yeah. You need to pay for your insurance cover, and the insurance company will then look into the risk and say, okay, are we able to bear or to handle all those losses on our own, or do we need reinsurance cover as well? And the same goes for reinsurance companies as well. So if you come with an X million risk to us, we will buy for ourselves reinsurance as well from other reinsurers.
But what's the last piece in that chain of events then? Who's the one who in the end finally carries the risk?
Yeah, I think that the end of the chain is the reinsurance companies, but all the reinsurance companies act more or less as a team. So for sure, we're all trying to get the good and the best pieces of that cake. But at the end of the day, we all need to treat the risks and pay all the claims, and this can only be done together. And so all huge risks, all huge losses are always covered by all reinsurance companies.
Great work to you and the team.
Interesting. And one question on that. How would you describe, or in a word, like how decisions are made? Because you said like someone is assessing the risk and then you have to decide, of course, what that risk will be worth. Who's going to make the decision and how?
Mathematics. It's always depending on how do we estimate the worst loss that could ever happen in this specific area. And then we need to compare that to the offer the primary insurance is offering to us. And it's a business between human. So it's nothing where you can go into a shop and buy reinsurance cover. It's always we need to talk to each other, and sometimes I make the better deal, and sometimes you are making the better deal. It's our strategy to have long-term relationships with our customers, to go in good times and in bad times.
I think that's super interesting because there's the mathematics layer and then there's the human layer. And it sounds like it's an almost perfect fusion of those two things. Really, really interesting. I think that
and there's also
well.
like the content and the context and the history and the previous wisdom. And that is what brings me to, let's move on a bit to our like first huge part of learning about how you and your organization built that wisdom for the company and making sure that the people who need the information have the information they need to make the decision.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic, Franzi, and I agree. That's what we want to get into with Andre. So, Andre, when someone joins a deal or evaluates a risk, like what role does historical documentation play in making confident decisions? How do you guys think about that?
We as Hannover Re now have 20 years of document management history behind us. We started with a SharePoint 2003 with a connected archive system in the background, but we quickly realized that this did not meet our needs. So in 2009, we started looking for a new DMS and introduced Doxis in 2011. So we are celebrating our 15th anniversary this year. The biggest challenge was not to place Doxis as a dump archive at the end of the information food chain. And my goal, my wish is to put it as early as possible in all the respective processes we are dealing with. Because let's be honest, at some point you have to store and edit the documents somewhere anyway. And of course you can bury them on a network drive, but then no one will ever find them again. And you can't version the documents well with version 0.8, version 0.9, final version, and current version in the file name. It's simply difficult to find the right document. And that's why my approach is always to use Doxis as early as possible, because it offers so much added value. I've already talked about version history, but what about annotations? Doxis or SER still jokes about us being the stamp kings. Doxis makes so much possible in this area, and we love our stamps, and we make really good use of them, especially in accounting or even in sanctions control. And if you are a big fan of folders, because that's what we're used to with working with network drives, then you can set up them dynamically in Doxis. But we can look at the same file. You will with a folder structure grouped by the year of signing, but I need the same file grouped by something completely different. And so we do have all the reinsurance related information in Doxis, usually very early in the process, but sometimes also very late, because let's be honest, not everyone can be convinced. And of course, we also have colleagues who really only use Doxis as a data graveyard at the end of their processes, so that auditors don't complain about it.
Super interesting. So on the one hand, there's this idea of data graveyard, data dump, almost like a dumb repository. But what you're telling us, Andre, is that over the 15 years that you've been doing this, in that time, have you seen how having this historical body of knowledge is enabling people on the front line to be more agile or to have more continuity between projects? What is this data asset enabling for your frontline stakeholders?
In Germany, or in German, we always say the documents are the most important thing we have, because we do not sell any physical product. We sell safety and security. So the documents are the most important thing we have as an asset. And you ask about how do we deal with the entire process from negotiating until maybe a deal is closed. And we made it, or we try to make it as easy as possible for our users. So you can store all the documents in Doxis as soon as the initial contact is made. If the deal goes through, great. Then we generate all the necessary entries in our reinsurance systems, which will result in a file in Doxis. And then the documents can be moved with just 2 mouse clicks. This shows that Doxis does not stand alone, but it's deeply embedded in our processes and integrated in our IT landscape. And important note, if the deal doesn't go through, for example, because we don't want to take the risk, then we still have all the information in Doxis. And it's not uncommon for us to see the same risk again in the coming year. And then it's interesting to see why we didn't want it last year and who was involved. Perhaps these people are no longer with the company or now have different responsibilities. Doesn't matter to us because we know where to find these documents. We can exactly say, okay, Andre and Will were involved last year. What have they talked about and how was this decision made? This is really, really important for us.
So yeah, you can ensure that the decisions that were made 5, 10, 15 years ago and that the information that was created by the time is still accessible to people today if they need to know that information. And that brings me to another question, is what changes in the process, in collaboration, in working on the contracts or the assessment when everyone who's involved actually has the trust and the security that they are accessing the right information.
You mentioned, Franzi, 10 or 15 years, which brings me to another very important topic I would like to add here in this conversation, because we are not hunters and gatherers. We are, of course, subject to a strict regulation. So we are not allowed to keep these documents forever and ever. We are obliged to delete them once they are no longer needed for our business. So we need to take into consideration business purposes and tax issues and so on and so on. And if these topics have been clarified, we need to delete those documents and try to implement that on your network drive. Then good luck. But in Doxis, it's not a big deal because we have implemented such called deletion workflow, and this workflow automatically checks what needs to be deleted and obtains the deletion approval from the departments involved. And if everyone agrees it is deleted, are there any objections? Then these must be recorded and evaluated by legal. And next year, there will be a new deletion event for this exact process. And so even the boring workflow engine is really of a big interest for us and very important for us because we process more than 1,000 workflows per day for accounting, for sanctions control, to involve our claims specialists. So yeah, it's very important for us, and you cannot think about reinsurance business at Hannover Re without Doxis. Everyone knows where to search for the information. And for sure, we still have some areas in our company who are in love with their file share, and that's fine for me. I'm not here to convince. I'm here to offer better solution in comparison to your file share. And I'm absolutely sure that Doxis is a better solution. And I offer so many trainings and sessions for you until you have understood why Doxis will make your life easier.
I think that is a huge step in the success journey of enabling the users to really see the value and the benefits of Doxis while working with it.
And the good thing and the funny thing is that I'm an IT guy. So I'm here to operate all the servers and offer trainings and stuff like that. But sometimes it occurs that one business unit affects the other. And one business unit says, okay, watch out, we're using this kind of workflow because this makes our life so much easier. Why do you not use this kind of workflow? And then for the business unit, it's hard to argue against them. And this is a very funny situation. We can see it again and again over the past 15 years. That's not IT who want to add a new cool fancy feature. Sometimes it's from business to business saying, okay, there is a very good solution available. Why do you not use it? Well, it's a funny thing.
That's
Really
the best
cool.
thing that can happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's move on a bit to one of the next topics that we want to talk to you about, Andre, and that is the topic of collaboration. We have already touched that a bit, but we want to do a bit deeper dive into how people collaborate. And maybe we can also talk about a bit about AI in a bit. That might be our next chapter.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe to give you a leaping off point, like how does document intelligence support collaboration? Because you've talked about this being a team sport, both macro and within the firm, micro. So reinsurance companies collaborate. And then, of course, there's this collaboration you've been talking about. How does document intelligence support collaboration from pre-deal through that life cycle? What does it enable for people?
Of course, this AI train doesn't stop at Doxis either here at Hannover Re. And that's why we're now launching a small proof of concept to find out how these new features can help us there. And we want to try to remove the time-consuming and unpopular task from the user's desk. And the first thing we are looking at here is the automatic classification of documents. So the three of us, we can look at the same document and can still assess it differently. And that's how it is for us too, especially in an international context. And my goal is to standardize this. No matter where in the world document is saved or is originated, I want to have it evaluated and classified according to the same criteria. And this is one of our major goals for this small proof of concept. And this is not a topic for collaboration. This is to make the underwriters and the accountants' life easier. And we do collaborate in editing any kind of document within the Doxis system. We are collaborating in sending workflows from an employee to a unit manager to a division head or stuff like that. Or if I need some kind of approval for something. But it's also possible in a negotiation phase to say, okay, Will, watch out, I have a really strange thing on my desk. What do you think about it? And so instead of sending emails back and forth, we can use a very easy and straightforward Doxis workflow and to collaborate on this specific new risk, because I, as a trainee, have never heard about that, but I want to gain your expertise on that. And so everything, instead of saving the information in your inbox, we try to move it into the Doxis system so that at least the entire team is able to access that information and to see, okay, what have Andre and Will talking about last year and why and how did they come to this conclusion? So this is collaborating in Doxis for Hannover Re.
So that means like the most important value for you is the transparency that is added and like a consistency of workflows that are going in the background, no matter what, making sure that the process flows and is not just being stopped somewhere or the information is being missed or lost in the worst case.
Yeah, if you rely on internal processes and if you rely on the availability and the stability of Doxis, you can trust the system.
Trust me.
Because for 15 or since 15 years, we had no major issue with our Doxis system. So I cannot say that in 15 years there was nothing, but there was no major outage or stuff like that, so that anyone here can complain about it. So next to all the cool features you offer within the system, you also provide a very stable and reliable infrastructure.
How did you create the processes? Like, had you a team in the background? Like, who did design the master process kind of? And how much did your internal teams on their own, and how much support was needed from outside?
We from the IT team, we are a team of 4 employees, being responsible for the entire Doxis thing at Hannover Re, and we can do all the IT stuff. And over the years, for sure, we do have gained some business knowledge, but not in a deep dive. So whenever someone wants to have a new feature implemented, we need to talk with the business to ask, okay, what is your pain? How can we help? And how can we support you? And then we will discuss and create a first draft, create a second draft, and implement and develop so long as you as the business say, okay, we're fine with that. This now is a solution which supports our business and which fits to our needs. And then for sure, as a regulated company, we have to develop, we have to test, and then we have transported into production environment, and then you are ready to use. So the normal case is that someone from the business reaches out and say, okay, we do have a problem here. Are you able to help, to support? But sometimes it's the other way around. Speaking about this AI thing, this was an idea which was developed within our team, where we said, okay, everyone at this company is doing with this AI stuff. What can we add to this thing? And so we reached out to you. We spoke during the summit. What will be the next cool thing? Yeah, and this was one of the main drivers that we are initiating this POC now.
Yeah,
Super
and
cool.
I assume that in, as you said before too, a very regulated business, it's probably not super easy to use AI. As I assume there are like some data protection or more complicated rules than in maybe other businesses. But on the other hand, it must be practical. So how do you find the best way in what's fancy and nice to have and what brings the most value to the business?
It's always talking with your own internal customers. So we do offer all the knowledge we have to the customers, and they may provide all the weird information and all the weird requirements that they might have on their desk. And we internally negotiate, okay, what can we achieve with less effort as possible? And so it's like reinsurance. It's a business between people. And if you have a requirement, reach out and we will try to implement this in the Doxis environment. The only thing which needs to be considered must be usable for all the businesses worldwide. So we cannot and we will not create a solution which will only fit for Franzi Thomas, because that's not how a company like Hannover Re can exist. But if your requirements fits to 100 accountants or 100 underwriters, then thanks a lot for reaching out. This will add additional value to the entire Doxis solution at Hannover Re, and we're happy to develop and integrate it into our solution.
Great. And maybe one last question to finish, Andre. Do you see AI accelerating how organizational wisdom accumulates in Hannover Re, or is it too early to speculate? What possibilities exist when you and the other smart people in the organization think about what happens next? Is it clear yet?
I cannot speak for Hannover Re at all. I can only speak for my tiny Doxis view. And there I do have some expectations in terms of AI and all the things you might have to offer sooner or later. And one big thing for us is redaction of PI data. So we are dealing with almost unlimited PI data here at Hannover Re, and we need to get rid of them. Because it's very important for us, because it's not uncommon that claims to be reported many years later. And if we do not have those documents, we cannot prove what was agreed with a primary insurer. And we have seen this happen before by not using Doxis. Despite all the costs, we have even saved a 7-figure sum because we did not have to pay out on claims thanks to Doxis. And so redaction of PI data is very important because then we are not forced to delete those documents, which is as mentioned earlier, a huge asset for us. And then we do have some more minor points in terms of AI. It's a kind of superhuman search. This is the vocabulary Doxis uses very often. The thing that I would like to have a customer relationship summarized for me. I do not want to have summarized a single document because Adobe can that do too. But I'm, as an example, responsible for a customer named Doxis. So I want to know exactly what contracts do I have with them, what is special, what's the claim situation, and what do I need to pay attention to when visiting this customer. So this is really big thing for us. And finally, very small one, but could be evolved to a very important topic sooner or later. We want to test whether we can extract content from documents so that we can use this information and process it in other applications. So if we do receive emails or Excel spreadsheets containing claims information, we want to extract information and process them in other internal reinsurance systems, which would make the life of many employees easier.
Yeah, all valid, good points, and very interesting AI strategy, I would say. You have all aspects of what we, in our mind, think AI can do for companies. And that's like the categorization. I don't know how many different document types you're dealing with on a daily basis. It might be a variety of different document type that needs to be categorized. And you said like you want to have a standard across different departments and regions, and making sure that whether it happens in Germany or in any other country, the category of document type X is always labeled as X in any country. And also like extracting certain information, especially from unstructured documents, maybe even like handwritten documents or notes, is very challenging and complex thing to accomplish. So I'm super excited to see how we can deliver that with Doxis and what your AI experiments and first project attempts will deliver on that. Keep us updated, please.
Will do.
Thank you. I mean, it's been fantastic, Andre. Really super interesting conversation. And, we've learned a lot. It's been really interesting understanding, it's not just about efficiency, although there's definitely efficiency gains. It's about empowering your people with that context and that confidence, and not just managing those documents, but enabling smart decisions to be made. And you're a decision-making organization, aren't you, really? So super, super interesting. And we really appreciate you spending some time with us. Yeah,
thank you
really
for the
great.
Interesting conversation. And let's see what comes next.
Absolutely. We look forward to the next chapter.
Okay, great. Then all the best and take care.
Thank you. Cheers, Andre.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Well, wasn't that good? Today we learned that enterprise content isn't just about files. You already knew that, though. It's about preserving institutional memory, a super interesting topic, I think, for all of us, given AI and everything. Really interesting. How do we remember what we already know? How is it at our fingertips when we need it? Franzi, what was your take? How was it for you?
I do love how he took us through the entire journey, how they started the project, how they still love it, how they enable their entire organization to use Doxis and see the benefit of it. That is very inspiring for me, because I know that is challenging for some companies to achieve that. And I also love how Andre is just talking about Doxis and how proud he is of the project.
Yeah, it's cool.
Happy customers makes me happy too.
Me too. So really good stuff. Next time we'll explore how intelligent automation continues to reshape the enterprise and where AI is taking us next. So maybe, Franzi, you could finish with the classic YouTuber comments. Shall I hand those over to you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Please subscribe and share and tell us what you're interested in, what you want to hear next. And remember, keep your content hot, fresh, juicy, connected, and make sure it's working for you. See you next time.
Bye. Thank you, everybody. Cheers.
Bye-bye.